Hello and welcome to North Country Matters. My name is Donna Seymour. I'm a member of the St. Lawrence County branch of the American Association of University Women, one of the civic partners for this show. Today we have Chelle Lindahl in the studio from the Local Living Venture, and we're going to be talking with Chelle about some of the new and projects this fall for Local Living Venture. Chelle is somebody that I've known for a long time, and she has also doubled as our camerawoman this semester for North Country Matters. So Chelle, it's nice to have you on the other side of the camera. So the Local Living Venture is a local organization devoted to sustainable living and all that entails. And what it entails is a whole lot, isn't it, Chelle?
Oh, yes, we encompass quite a bit.
So let's start out by giving folks a brief description of what Local Living Venture is all about in general before we get into the specifics of the two programs that we want to focus on today.
Great. Well, we are mainly focused on doing workshops and community events at this point in time. And what we try to do is share resourceful living skills, ways to live simply, cheaply comes with it. I should say inexpensively, but cheaply kind of gets the point across, I think, right. You know? And also kind of incidentally, but not entirely, environmentally friendly ways to live. We're not an environmental organization, but we're very happy that we are kind of pushing that envelope forward in the North Country, so that's good stuff. And we came out of the Sustainable Energy Fair, which that organization lost its funding. I started the Sustainable Energy Fair in 1992. That was my first big project in the North Country, and eventually gave it to Community Energy Services to be their kind of outreach wing. And when they lost their funding for reasons that, you know, gosh, these things happen.
Reasons, yeah.
These things happen. And they went under in 2009, and the woman who was the coordinator for the fair for those folks, myself and two other people we were all volunteers for the fair, the exhibit coordinator, the volunteer coordinator, and myself, decided not to let this die. So we expanded it into the Local Living Festival, which was more whole homestead, not just energy and green buildings and that kind of thing, but also food and ag, you know, everything to do with food. There's a lot there. It's a big portion for us, you know, growing it, eating it, nutrition, preserving, composting, the end of the life cycle there, and then also into forestry and burning wood cleanly, which can be done. People don't know that. They think it's just a polluting resource, but it's obviously a huge natural resource for us and very cheap to heat with wood. And you know, various areas like that. So we expanded the reach quite a bit and started doing, we did the first festival in 2010, and then we decided, why just do this once a year or every 2 years? Let's do ongoing workshops, and that's kind of what we've been doing for the last 7 years now.
Right, and actually by doing those kinds of workshops, you're meeting people exactly where they need you to be, and instead of coming to sort of a smorgasbord of things and not being able to really go to all the exhibits and listen to all the speakers that you want to speak for at a fair, this way people can really hone in and focus on what they need right now.
Well, and I have to tell you, you know, our model is that our presenters, occasionally we'll bring in a national expert, like when we did our rocket mass heater. We brought in Erica and Ernie Weisner that come from Oregon. They were here anyway, we wouldn't have flown them in, but...
you took advantage of their presence.
Exactly, yeah. But for the most part, our presenters are, first of all, volunteers from the community, but they are just people in the community that have a passion for something. They're into whatever that thing is. Growing shiitake logs, you know, what have you. Composting. Our first workshop was a composting workshop, and we've done it at least twice a year, every year since then. It's very popular. But they're people that have a passion for this thing, whether it's a hobby or a business or whatever it may be for them. They're just so enthusiastic about it. And it used, people would show up at these workshops that knew at least as much as the presenter did, or had really interesting information in a different area of it. And, you know, I used to kind of wonder, like, why are these people paying money to come to a workshop when they already know all of this? And then I figured out, they just want to be around people who are as into what they're into as they are. And what often happens in the workshops, and I now warn the presenters that we want this to happen, it will turn into a free-flowing...
A forum, in many ways. Yeah.
Yes, and everybody's sharing information, and it just, when that happens, my heart just sings. It's the most wonderful experience. Everybody gets so much more out of it than somebody standing on a lectern, and, you know.
Right.
I mean,
because there's that
has its value, too.
There's an emotional investment in the topic that you don't get when you're just a passive listener.
Exactly, and people just get so excited, and it really spurs everybody's interest in it, and you get so much more information that way, so we love that.
Well, that's great. Well, what we're going to talk about right now is a passion of mine, which is the Renewable Energy and Green Homes Tour. So, in addition to your normal ongoing schedule of workshops and community events, you also do special projects, and this is one of them. So let's talk a little bit about the tour, which is coming up in just about a week.
Exactly, yes, I'm up to here with it. But yeah, well, I mean, like I said, this whole thing started with a fair well, let me backtrack. In 1992, I was living off-grid in Winthrop, and was very excited by this possibility of living this way, and I wanted to share that. And so I read a book called Power Over People, which sounds like some kind of strange self-help book or something, but it was about people living under power lines, 765K lines and that kind of thing. And so I just started getting very excited about all of this, and then I saw in the Real Goods catalog, which was very popular back then, that there was going to be a set of home tours. And I said, oh, let's do this, because I knew other folks that lived off-grid. But then I expanded it and turned it into a fair. So that was, now this is our 25th anniversary of doing these home tours, so we're really excited about that, and we're trying to make it a great project for the 25th anniversary. This year, the really special, fun thing that we're adding is a new track of grid-tied homes. The people that have benefited from the Solarized Canton project, from other contractors in the area like Northern Lights Energy that are doing a lot of these grid-tied homes. So we're going to have representatives at these different homes. Not every one of them, but quite a few of them. Some of the homeowners are very comfortable speaking about their systems, but others, we're going to have contractors from both Apex, who's sponsoring us, and our sponsor, Northern Lights Energy. They'll be on site helping people to understand what the technicalities are and all of that. And then, in most cases, you'll get to kind of check out the people's homes, because often they have very interesting features and that kind of thing. And may I say,
oh yes,
Donna is one of the people
That's
that
right.
will be touring.
And I'm excited to do that. I did a show 2 years ago this fall with the Solarized Canton folks, and at the end of that show they challenged me to go ahead and find out more about the Solarized Canton project. So the next day I made a phone call, and you know, we're a solar home now,
There you
and
go.
very, very happy. So I've actually talked with lots of folks in the last couple of years about it, and I'm looking forward to being able to share our experiences and all of the positives that we have gotten from, you know, having a grid-tied home. So it'll be very exciting to talk to folks and give them sort of the inside of that process.
And if I can say, you were someone, as many folks up here are, who was kind of an early adopter of some of these ideas. How long ago did you put on your passive
Right. Well,
sunroom?
we have our house is it's on the 1835 map of Potsdam, and so about 20 years ago we took off a very dark screened-in porch and put on a sun porch, and that has given me free energy every winter since. So, you know, we're always happy about the free stuff.
Yeah, and it's amazing what a little change like that can
That's
do
right.
for your home. It really is. So this tour will be focusing on a lot of different topics for ways to kind of live more energy efficient. We'll have some green homes. They maybe aren't off-grid or this or that, but there's one near Curry Mills. It's a fantastic house a good friend of mine built, and she is a small woman, so she's built this whole house to fit her, which is really kind of fun. But she's got these beautiful sunroom kind of thing that she'll be able to get that heat from there, and she's built it. It's kind of fun because it's like the mortgage-free way to do it, right, only as she has money. Mm-hmm. She's been building it slowly and living in a tiny cabin on the same land.
The tiny house that's slowly growing.
Right, exactly. And from largely recycled materials, and so she's got a lot of things to share about how to do things in the North Country way, I guess, right? But
with limited resources and
exactly,
having a big impact in improving your own quality of life.
Exactly, yes, mm-hmm, and the home is fantastic, mm-hmm, really beautiful. The original frame was built by the acclaimed local builder Brian Lee. Mm-hmm. It's an Asian and rustic fusion kind of design. It's gorgeous. So there won't be a lot to see there about energy, except how little of it she uses. Right. But we do have the off-grid track, mm-hmm, of which my own home is one of those. I have a rocket mass heater that we built as a workshop. With
and I've actually seen the video that you
yes,
did of
yes,
that.
That's
so
on
you've
YouTube.
Shared, right?
Yeah.
You've shared that.
Yeah, if you look up Chelle Lindahl rocket mass heater, mm-hmm, you'll find that. Mm-hmm. And I like to say that I camp in style at my house. Basically, I live primitively. I live completely off-grid. I do have a small solar system, 375 watts, not kilowatts, mm-hmm, watts, which is enough to power my radio, my computer, a small TV, which I watch, half an hour a week. Very,
just North Country Matters. Right?
Of course. No, that's on the computer. But PBS in Watertown. I have what I like to call walking water instead of running water. So I collect rainwater and I strain it and clean it up and bring it into the house. In winter, it's kind of a drag because I have like 10 or 15 5-gallon pails stacked up in the house. In summer, it's such a relief when I get to put them out in the mudroom.
Well, it's interesting, Shelley, because I have a very old house. At one time, there was a cistern in it, and so they had a system to collect rainwater, yeah, back before there was the kind of running water that we think of today in a village where you have water and sewer. So these old houses often have these features that were pre-electric. Right. And so they're actually, in many ways, it's easy to go back when you have an old enough house because some of those features are still extant. Yeah,
exactly. And with all of the disasters we've had recently and all of that, people having to live without all, mm-hmm, of these modern conveniences, guess what? It's not comfortable for people who are used to those conveniences. Right. But it can be done, and I live very comfortably. It's
Well, I thought during the ice storm, which has happened about 20 years ago, mm-hmm, now, that I was fortunate to be living in a very old house because it was easier to live primitively in an old house than it was an all-electric apartment where people had to move out. They could not shelter in place because they had no alternative systems. Exactly. We could cook in the fireplace and we could stay warm, and right, because we had an old house. Right. And so right, there's a lot to be said sometimes for those systems with multiple redundancies. Exactly. That aren't all dependent on the electric grid.
Some of the other off-grid homes we have will be going to, actually it's a hybrid. There's a grid-tied house and an off-grid cabin back behind outside of Canton on an organic farm that we probably all know. We have, this is, actually the tours are going to 3 different areas. We have a Jefferson County, a St. Lawrence County, and then a Northwest Adirondacks. Wanakina, I think, is technically in St. Lawrence County. We're hoping to get a couple of others near there. Homes are being added constantly.
So this is really, this is expanded well beyond what it used to be in terms of even the number of places and the areas that you're able to bring people to.
Our list has grown over the years.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So we've got, on the other off-grid, we have Woodhenge, which is in Jefferson County. That's a sustainability and self-reliance campus. 5 different homes, different styles, all off-grid. Many creative, wonderful things going on there. Definitely worth the time. And then, of course, my favorite, always, Crazy Jerry in Colton. He lives 30 feet from the power line and is not connected. It's kind of a source of pride for him.
Oh, absolutely. And Jerry often takes his alternative energy vehicle to car shows and things like that.
Absolutely.
So he is a wonderful resource and a great spokesperson for those kinds of things.
Well, a lot of folks might have seen this little yellow bullet-like enclosed bicycle weird thing zooming down the road at 50 miles an hour. That's Crazy Jerry, and that's one of the many things.
That's right.
That man is a very, I like the Juzaks at Woodhenge. He is just a creative genius. He goes off in 20 different directions, but they all come together in this beautiful way.
That's right. And then he's so willing to share and talk about
so
and inspire other people.
Yes,
So.
and his big thing now is lithium batteries. He's really gone hard for the lithium batteries, which, to be honest, I don't know as much about as I'd like to. I wish I wasn't on the tour so I could go to this tour.
Go to the tour, exactly.
So then on the on-grid, the grid-tied front, we have that home, which is also the Otto's Abode art-centric space, is downstairs from the home that's powered by the solar on-grid system. We have 3 places in Potsdam, yours. We have the first home in the area to get on grid in 2004, or grid tied in 2004, and she has kept meticulous records of all of this. So that should be very interesting. And then we're pretty sure Big Spoon, which is a new business here in town, that has a fantastic setup going in their commercial kitchen downstairs. We're not sure if we're going to be able to tour the space, but certainly
I've
the
been
system.
anxious to tour their system because as I would drive by that, I would watch that place being built, and I was so impressed by the care with which they were putting everything together and the thought that went into it. It just is such a show place. Yeah, it's such a show place.
So we'll have, a contractor there showing their system, since they probably can't be there. It's the weekend. They're trying to find somebody to be able to show the kitchen and that kind of thing. So hopefully that'll come through. And then we also have, in Jefferson County again, an Earthship home. Rammed earth in tires. It's like just the most amazing place.
Many of these Jefferson County homes have actually been featured over the years in the newspaper, so that people are very familiar with them because they have gotten a lot of attention because they're such interesting places.
And this place is finally completed now.
Right.
It's been
labor of love.
Oh my goodness, it's been years that they've just been slowly pounding away on the rammed earth, But they've been in it a year or two now, and they also have a small rocket stove setup, or I don't know if it's small, a rocket stove setup. And for people that don't know what rocket stoves and rocket mass heaters are, I won't go into it now because it's a lengthy explanation.
I'll tell you what, we'll put a link in the video to your website, or to your YouTube.
I love it.
Yeah, so we'll be able to share that with folks.
All right. The last couple of places on the hook for the grid tied are an organic farm on Wellesley Island that's powered by solar and wind. And I should mention Crazy Jerry's is also a solar wind hybrid. And then another home outside of Canton that they've built up, theirs is not on the roof like yours is, theirs is on the ground mounted.
Yeah.
So they've put in a shed and a chicken coop as part of that structure. So that's kind of fun and ways to see what to do with that. And there's a big movement for these ground mounts to do pollinator.
This is the segue.
To do pollinator landscapes.
Right.
That the neat thing about it, you only have to mow once a year.
Okay.
And you've got this beautiful setup.
Let's, just before we get to the Pollinator Partnership Program, let's just tell people how to sign up for the Solar
Yes.
Home Tour. We don't want to forget the commercial part of this.
That's right. We have, we used one of those website link shorteners, the bit.ly. So it's, if you just type in bit.ly, bit.ly, and then / Green Home Tours. Now, I've capitalized each of those words. I'm not sure that you have to do that, but
No, I don't think it matters.
it may or may not, yeah. But bit.ly Green
And
Home
again, I'll be sure
Tours.
to put these links in the show notes so
Beautiful.
folks will be able to just do a quick click.
Beautiful.
So let's go to the Pollinator Partnership Program because this is a new project this year. And any of us who have been paying attention to the environment and climate news have been reading for some time about the problems that bees in particular have been having with too much pesticides, and there's been a lot of colony disease and things like that. And we should say that that bees pollinate 1 in every 3 bites of food that we eat. But it's not only bees who are pollinators, are they?
Correct.
So let's talk about what the protection program is and how it will benefit these very tireless workers in our
Yes.
gardens, our orchards,
Absolutely.
and our farm fields.
So you referenced that pollinators do provide us with roughly 1/3 of our food supply, and that is, the common misperception is that that is bees, and it's not just bees, it's all the pollinators. We're talking butterflies, bats, bees, moths, beetles,
Hummingbirds?
some birds,
Yeah,
yes,
hummingbirds.
and even many other insects too. For instance, we would not have chocolate if it was not for 2 species of midge, a tiny little insect that pollinates the cacao plant. So,
I think I'm a new Midge fan.
we need our pollinators. But it's actually 30% of all crops. That's for human consumption. 90% of all wild plants. Okay, so we do depend on those wild plants being in existence
That's
as
right.
well. So
That's right.
there is that, and many of them medicinal, of course. It's actually about the low estimate is about $15 billion worth of U.S. crops. And worldwide, 250 to 500 billion, billions.
Yeah.
And 150 million in the U.S. is in honey alone. So this is a valuable crop that way, but I do kind of get annoyed that they always put this into money terms and, and human-centric terms. The fact is...
This is how nature works. And if it doesn't work, a whole lot more species than just ours is in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Because, these insects and bugs that do this pollinating, they don't just feed us. They are part of the natural food chain.
Right.
And they themselves get eaten by other critters and sustain life in that way too. So we have to look at the big picture with this. The threats to the pollinators, all of those pollinators that I mentioned, land use changes, intensive agriculture, pesticide use that comes from the intensive ag, but also from home use.
Inappropriate
use. Invasive species, diseases,
Climate change.
Climate change.
We can't get away from it, can we?
Yeah. So we've got colony collapse disorder in the bees. We've got the white nose syndrome with the bats. 50 to 60% loss of monarch butterflies since 1975. It's all stuff that just can leave you feeling a little bit helpless, really, but we also have to look at how the natural world inspires us. Every one of us as a kid learned about the the egg to caterpillar to chrysalis of the monarch butterfly, and these are things that inspire us and that make us.
And they're still using them in science classes in elementary schools, like they did when you and I were kids.
Absolutely.
So this is a wonderful it's a wonderful little project that really describes the arc of life.
Yes. So what we have done is, we have all of these threats and all of these things. What can we do about it? Here in the North Country, we are just blessed by this beautiful natural environment we have. We can do a lot to help here on a personal basis, and we've teamed up with the Weiser Center, which is out of the biology department at SUNY Potsdam, and we are putting together this full program. It is going to educate the public about all of this, of course, and try to engage them in helping. We'll be doing a whole series of workshops, how to build butterfly cabins, mason bee houses. Mason bees are fascinating. Let me mention, the honeybee that we all know and love, it's not native.
No, that's right.
It came from Europe.
Yeah.
Mason bees are a native bee, and mason bees they pollinate 5 to 6 times as much as a honeybee.
They just don't get
So
the
it's
PR.
fascinating. They don't get the PR, exactly, and nobody makes money off of them. So
Right. Well, yeah, because that's really a really big business in this country,
Yes.
which is taking truckloads of bees to various locations around the country, depending on what fruit or nut is in season.
And even just the smaller beekeepers.
Yeah.
We run the beekeeping club, the only beekeeping club within 100 miles of here. Although Akwesasne has done a spin-off
Good.
version, so I guess we're not the only now. But we help all kinds of small beekeepers to do make a little side income. I mean, this is the way in the North Country. You diversify your income. You have many little
It's a little
things
cottage
going.
industry.
Yes, exactly. So we're trying to help those folks out too. But back to the mason bee. Those are the little bees that you'll see burrowing into things, making little, almost mud-looking nests inside of little holes and things. Very docile, will not sting you unless you really try very hard, and huge pollinators, so they're wonderful that way. So we'll be building mason bee houses and butterfly cabins and all kinds of different habitat kinds of things that are enclosures. But then also we'll be doing planting for pollinators kinds of workshops so that people can learn how to do that. And again, like I say, with the benefit if you mow once a year.
But there also has to be things that people can do in a landscaping way around their house, which can be an attractive habitat as
Right.
well. So it'll be for people. You don't have to have 40 acres and a mule, do you,
Exactly.
to be part of this? Anybody can be part of this.
Yes. So we'll do workshops on seed saving, beekeeping for beginners, and various beekeeping things as part of our regular bee program. And then we're trying to put together something that'll be very fun at the Weiser Center at SUNY Potsdam, a honey hoedown. They have equipment that people can bring in their frames from the beehives, and it'll process the honey out of them very quickly, very easily. This is one of the biggest hardest things for small beekeepers to do, and they're trying to get it into commercial use there on campus and that kind of thing, and be able to have people come in and use
So you'll be
this.
able to schedule a time to bring in your frames
Right,
and actually have them processed right there. You know it's your honey
Right.
because you're the only person there. Right.
And potentially go into a bigger pool that gets sold commercially
Right.
and gives the income in a very quick, easy way. You aren't doing all the packaging and
Yeah.
selling at farmers markets and all of that, which is great too, but
Right, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. So to
Right,
speak.
exactly.
So,
But the honey
yeah.
hoedown would be showing that equipment, looking at the beehives that are there on campus. There would be music, there would be speakers, it would be a whole big thing. So we're trying hard to put that together in the next month or so because the harvest has to happen before winter hits.
Right.
We'll also have films. We're hoping to get Wings of Life, a fabulous film. Check YouTube for little clips on that. Oh my goodness. So there's Cinema 10, we're trying to get that film through them if they can get it. I'm sure they will. We'll have speakers and these workshops that I mentioned. But the biggest part of the program that I'm most excited about is the Pollinator Pals. And that's where we are recruiting people to commit a certain square footage of their garden, or if they have land, a certain acreage, and to plant for pollinators. And we'll help them with the workshops and all of that.
You'll give them the tips about what the plants
exactly.
are.
And we're also trying to get either free or very low cost seed to distribute to these folks.
And this is the perfect time of year to be working on that, because if everything's in place, they can start planting in the spring, can't
yes,
they?
Exactly.
So that's your goal, right?
That's
your goal. Great.
And there will be so many things involved with that. You know, we can do all these citizen science types of projects with it. We do want to map the area, the county, or maybe a larger region, for not only our, pollinator pals, but native wild patches and that kind of thing. There's some possibility to do that with Clarkson, with another mapping project they have that's on carbon sequestration, and we could overlay maps. That could be interesting. There's a million possibilities with this, and I'm very excited about the citizen science parts of it. That's so exciting. It really engages people in the process. They get involved, and certainly at the very least, photographing the pollinators that show up, and we'll do a website and have displays that go to events.
Shelley, this strikes me as a great science project for some of the schools in the area as well, too. They could put together gardens on school sites that could then become science laboratories for classes, couldn't they?
Weiser Center is already working with Ag in the Classroom, so we're in there, yes.
Yeah, that's great.
And there's so many ways that this could spread out.
And this is just the beginning.
And this is really, literally, we announced it last Friday.
Right, so talk about hot off the presses.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, well, I know you're going to find this hard to believe, Shelley, but we have just about used all our time.
Oh dear.
Yeah, but you know what? You can come back and we can do another show later on about all of the other things that the local living
do I
ventures.
have time to just throw in our upcoming workshops?
And you can certainly throw in our upcoming workshops as
very quickly.
Yeah, as we come to a conclusion on this show.
Absolutely.
But it's I love hearing about this stuff, and I love being able to share this with other people, because this is how we live in the North Country, and this is how we're going to continue to maintain this beautiful space that we have.
Exactly, and we have so many skills here that are going away that we're trying to preserve. So that's kind of our mission in the main. But yes, we have this weekend, might be a little late by the time people see this, we're building a tiny house. So that's a very exciting project, a weekend-long project. We have a kombucha make and take next weekend on the 14th. On the 15th, we have the Green Home Tours. We have the Bees and Beekeeping Discussion Group, always the last Wednesday of every month. We have Build an Earth Oven coming up the last weekend of October. That's again a weekend-long 2-day workshop. And we have several bulk food fiestas planned, and we're starting to move into themes with that. So we're going to do one on GMOs and one on pollinator, food-related themes. Bulk food fiestas is where the Potsdam Food Co-op and local farmers donate theme-specific foods, like maybe overwintering vegetables, and then we'll do a roasted root vegetable, like jamboree. We bring in tons of the stuff. We have all these people there. We chop, dice, slice, wash, do all of that, roast it all up, and then we share a meal together, and there's a ton of leftovers. People bring their containers, and they bring home really healthy meals that they can have later too.
Nice.
So it's a really nice thing, and there's all kinds of education about really simple cooking skills for people who want to bring their teenagers, maybe, and basic things that a lot of us just, this is another skill that's going away.
It's very true. It's very true.
And it's so fun.
Well, and it isn't just learning a new skill, it's the social aspect of being with other people and learning a new skill, and
the camaraderie of it all. Absolutely.
Well, Shelley, thank you so much for coming in today, and
my pleasure.
you know, I am looking forward to hearing more about some of the other things that we didn't get to today with the local living venture, because I know it's a huge topic that we can mine for a long time to come.
Yes.
So these conversations are a production of North Country Matters, which are filmed here in the Fred W. Cleveland Computer Center of the Potsdam Public Library. These conversations are a civic collaboration between the American Association of University Women of St. Lawrence County, the League of Women Voters of St. Lawrence County, and the Potsdam Public Library. Until next time, remember, our North Country matters. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just a
Wonderful.
wonderful conversation.